The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed. The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed. The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed. The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed. The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed.
How did you change? Are you still the same Frey as before you recorded the album?
Whose question is that?
I'm just going to choose randomly.
Okay. It did change me, I think. I know. It changed me. I started on the concept about 2 years ago when we played a concert at, just Julian and I played a duo concert at the farm where my father grew up. We asked if we could play a concert there, and my whole family was there, and I think it was like the first time where they got to see what I do and got to hear music I've written, and like since I've probably been 16 or something. So it was for them an introduction to what I'm doing. My uncles and my father's best friend were talking about like what do we see from Harry, my biological father, in Frederike when she's performing, and like I'd never thought about that, and I kind of shocked myself that I'd never really researched him and how he was as a person. I think this really was a very important step in reconciling his death, and also for my whole family. So because it had been 16 years since he passed, and you don't talk about that person, especially not in a about the things that maybe weren't so great. So I feel like also my family in a way really appreciated me asking about him, and they were very open, and it was a really bonding thing to do. So even if I wouldn't have made an album out of it, or I would have been super grateful to have done that. I was 6, and I remember my mom picking us up from school, and she told us something bad happened, but we went home to she wanted to tell us at home. So we were in the car. I don't know if I should tell this, but we were in the car, and I was just my sister. I was like, "Did the TV break down?" And I was thinking, and then Mom was like, "No, it's it's worse than that. And, or I don't know what she said, but I was thinking like, oh no, we're not going on vacation or something like this, or we were gonna go to the Efteling or something. I don't know. But I remember my mom telling us, and I don't know if I even cried. I don't think I understood. He was very loved as a person, and I think that wasn't said enough in that family. It was shown. It's a super loving family, but I think it was also the time. You didn't tell your kids you loved them. You showed them you loved them, but you didn't tell them. And I think that might have caused some, I don't know, uncertainties, maybe. Especially if you're a bit of an outsider. Yeah.
Like your father was.
Yes, he was an outsider. My mom said when I met him, I would have never guessed that he was this farm boy from Gendringen, from like this tiny town. He was so different. He was just very, he was just very himself, and a very, very different person than what you'd maybe expect. And also what all of my family members said is like he could talk to anyone, and like on every level. So kids really liked him because he took them seriously. You know, he didn't like baby them or like talk down on them or anything. He was just always had really interesting conversations with people from every walks of life. I think that's a really beautiful trait. In a way, he was very open, but also a very private person, especially about his troubles. So I think a lot of his struggles, he didn't share that with his family or with, you always had to read between the lines with him. He wouldn't come and ask for help, even if he needed it, maybe. So
Still, you try to take the elevator over and over again.
I do ask for help when I need it, but it doesn't come super easy for me, but I have learned a lot of these things over time. Asking for help is a vulnerable thing to do, but you're also telling the other person that you trust them, which is beautiful. I do think the album helped resurface the trauma in a way, and also the act of creating art out of it and creating something beautiful out of it is really healing in itself. It was for me, but also I feel like what I've gotten back from them, it was. And yeah, everyone has their own time when they're ready, and can decide for themselves when they feel they want to dive in. Yeah.
as one of the two seeds you planted, still blossoming. I'm here to tell you you're missed.
I was the kind of kid who, I don't know, wanted to be either a explorer or a rock star. And then in music school, I was just trying out a lot of different things and a lot of different versions of me, maybe. Yeah, during my studies, even the first 2 years, I just loved to learn, and I just loved every day, and every subject was super interesting to me, and I was very focused on learning and on school, in a school kind of way. And then when in my final year we started playing with Frey, and I started writing my own music and trying to get gigs and all of that, that is, I think, when I was like, wow, maybe I can just, if I work really, really hard for this and just put all of my efforts in this project, maybe that could be my profession or the way I make a living. There was not a moment where I stopped and I was like, oh, now I'm gonna pursue this as a career. It just happened. And then I was like, oh, I like this, and I'm gonna keep doing it. So that's still where I'm at. It feels like really long-term commitment, but also in a way it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like I have a job. It feels like, in a way, I'm always working, in a way I'm always playing. So.
Your soul rose unexpectedly, but you knew you wanted to fly. Like a caterpillar, impatient to become a butterfly. Transformation gave you wings. No crawling up staircases, no elevators, but wings to fly on.
When I was a kid, I was very myself. And then I guess as a teenager, I lost that a little bit. And I think this album really helped me find it back and stand my own ground, and just trusting myself and relearning who my authentic self is, and trying to share that with the world, with all the vulnerabilities that come with it.
And who is that? Who are you? Frederike.
I'm not one thing.
I didn't say that.
The truth is, I feel like I need another album to figure that out totally. And it's a constant journey.
They just mean
has changed. I really think I kind of figured out that my teachers and their opinions were not gonna pay my rent. So I figured that I was gonna really choose to do what I wanted to do without worrying about what they think of my choices. I don't know, I think it was very hopeful. I still am. And very driven, motivated, which I also still am. But I had a lot to learn, and again, still do, but I feel like I trust now I trust more in that anything I really want to do, I can make it happen. And I think there it was a little more unsure. I learned that affirmation works. that that pain is okay. That I'm a lot stronger than I think. I learned that I can speak my mind, and that when I know that I should trust that I can trust my gut, and I should, because when I don't, I end up having to go back around and fix things. I'm a very sensitive person, and when I feel like something is up, I hope I address it now, even though it feels uncomfortable at first, because I'm also, I grew up with like, just wanting to keep everything together, keeping the peace, not disturbing anything. And I hope that I speak up more now. Yeah, I think I learned to be more confident in my abilities and in my growth. So even though there are certain things that I cannot do yet that I want to do, I know I can learn how to do them. And that is really big for me, because that means that if I put my time and energy in something, that I can do it. So yeah, I think that's what these last 3 years really taught me. The connection it has with the album. So by tapping into and learning about my father and my mother and my ancestry, I feel more whole as a person, if that makes sense. I feel more grounded, I guess. I don't think being grounded means having less questions for yourself, but it means that you trust yourself to answer them and not trusting something outside of you to answer these questions for you. So you're not looking for answers everywhere but yourself, or you're not looking for validation from outside. If you just ask yourself what other people need and stop asking yourself what you need, then there's a disbalance. At least for me, I really have to do a conscious effort of asking myself the same questions that I ask myself about other people. think pleasing people in an artistic way, if it's a virtue or a flaw, it's both. But maybe in my artistic process at the moment, it's a flaw. Feel for the next album I want to write. And also with this one, I really tried. And I think we did pretty good, but I think I can do better in that. In being bolder, reckless, more reckless. And, you know, the thing is, I don't know how that's going to turn out. It's unknown territory. And it's super scary for me. It goes against or not against my intuition. Well, maybe it does a little bit. It is pushing me to places I don't normally go. So, but I think artistically it can be very interesting and very honest and empowering. So I would say I would like to try to be as bold as I can be. And then maybe afterwards I'll go back into being a little bit more pleasing. But I have to try that out. I have to try it out, I feel. But it scares the shit out of me. But that's okay.
No fear.
Yes. Be brave. Actually, no fear is not what should be standing there. Like, be courageous or something, because you're not courageous if there's no aspect of fear, right? So, you need the fear. You need to be afraid of losing something. And I'm gonna fall on my face more than once. But I have to risk it. I'm not risking it, I'm actually gonna fall on my face. I have to accept that. And that's okay. But it's scary. I think it's interesting that you say that it was felt like I was kind of naive and I think that is some sort of because it's a way of expressing optimism, naivete, you know? Because I don't think I'm a naive person at all. And that is also, I think, why I didn't push, because I was so aware of my place in these early years, maybe, and of my experience, that I didn't really just dive in and just go crazy, you know? So, but I've experienced that before, that kind of the optimism or kind of trying to see bright side and everything, that comes across as naive. And I know I'm more aware of that now also. And I think that the album had a significant, being in New York actually had a really big impact. Yeah, big impact on me on many levels, and especially with reconciling my darker side. So I learned that if you are always trying to find the positive in things, and not relatable, and also not being completely true to the situation or to other people's pain. And although it is like something that's coming from a really good place, and there are a lot of things to be grateful for and happy about. I think I kind of mistook that for a way of talking about things in a way that kind of left out the part of reality that is darker and heavier and has to be there for the light to shine. So I think that it's more of a coping mechanism. Yeah. I also wonder if it has something to do with being a woman. You grow up with a lot of signs that tell you to be grateful and happy and not make too much noise and be like swallow your anger. And yeah, I'm done with that. I don't want it anymore because I got really good at it, you know?
I already know deep inside. Please lend me the strength to change.
What is my dark side? The dark side is embedded in feeling and in really feeling feelings. So instead of just trying to fully think my way out of it as soon as possible into like a safe territory, is just stopping, being present with it and allowing it, because that's the only way to accept it and really come out of it. So yes, my dark side is sitting with and being present with the uncomfortableness of pain, to be in pain. And as humans, we have found a lot of ways to get out of pain. That is why vulnerability sucks, because it's literally hurting. And we're trying to minimize pain. It's why we drink alcohol and and why we get angry instead of admitting that we're hurt, you know? And I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm just trying to live or be okay with being in pain. Yeah, it all has to do with fleeing from pain. It's why we buy stuff, you know? It's why we are gathering things to have a quick rush of excitement. To buy things that add to our status and make us feel better than others or more accomplished in some way. And it's why we're paying the price of the planet every day, and paying And we're so in pain and so traumatized that we cause an insane amount of trauma to other people, to animals, to nature. And then the next step is to share that. And in a way put it on display. And in ways that's super hard, and in ways it also makes it easier because you found a way to share it. And you find out you're not alone. And other people can find out they're not alone because I'm sharing. So that feels like an important thing to do.
Is that a question?
No, that feels like an important thing to do. That feels meaningful to me. Yeah, it's about I can be of most service when I am most authentically myself, and making these albums are helping me do that. So I think that is why it's that way around instead of that way around. So it's from the outside in, and I'm taking my audience on a journey from the outside in. What makes a person? Their hopes, their dreams, their aspirations, their story, where they came from, where they're going. Their whole journey.
Where are you going?
I am stepping into the arena. Yeah, I'm going to live a very courageous life.
The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed. The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed. The sun and the moon falling into itself, realize that your world has changed. The sun and the moon falling into itself, I realize that my world has changed.